But I'm glad that we've got this combination of chemicals in here today because I've been wanting for a week to get to this story, but I needed the right people to talk about it with. Last week, and I know this triggered Stugotz because there is very little that Stugotz hates more as the voice of the fan. Anyone in sports who's being paid a lot of money telling fans how to behave when Stugotz believes that he is entitled as a customer to behave the way that he wishes to behave.
Within reason, Dan.
Yeah, but everybody defines that differently, what within reason is, and you extend that further out into the extremes than I do because you don't mind heckling or insulting a player.
When they deserve it, yeah.
And I don't, that's not for me, but
well, it's up to me.
Understood.
I decide.
That's within reason. You decide what is your reason. I don't trust generally your reason. Your reason is not trustworthy to me. But when it
offended.
When it came to Kawhi Leonard returns, is shooting free throws, and then Gregg Popovich takes the fairly extraordinary act of like he's talking to a high school gym. He's a principal of some sort.
Well, he wanted to be a D3 coach, Dan. So.
And he talks to Spurs fans, and he simply yells at them into the microphone that they are not, that is not who they are, that San Antonio fans are classier than that. And he tells them to stop booing and heckling Kawhi Leonard, who I think, and I don't know what the reporting has been on this, how accurate it is because the stuff around Kawhi is so muddled and he's so quiet, but I'm pretty sure that Kawhi feels failed by that entire organization led by Gregg Popovich, and I think he feels failed by their medical staff, and it's part of why he left. And so those fans are mad at him. They booed him. What did you think of all that?
They have every right to boo Kawhi Leonard. And what is Pop doing? You have to have better things to do while you're coaching your team than doing that, than grabbing a microphone and addressing the fans. You know what? I paid good money. And if I feel like I want to boo Kawhi Leonard, who is now 2 or 3 teams removed from the San Antonio Spurs, left there under your watch, Gregg Popovich, because you were doing something wrong. He was not comfortable there. He got out. He went to Toronto. Now he's with L.A. If the fans want to come back and boo Kawhi Leonard, they have every right to do so. There are only a couple of times where a coach would grab a microphone in an arena and address the fans. Before the season, first game of the season, you address the fans, you thank them. I love that. A little thank you message from the coach right before the season starts. We appreciate your support. That you can do it. If fans are launching things onto the court or, a hockey rink or a field, things that are dangerous to players, then you can grab a mic and address the fans, okay? The only other time is when a little girl is failing at singing the national anthem and you have to rush to help her out, okay? Mo Cheek, great job by him. Those are the only times you can grab a microphone if you're a head coach in the NBA. You cannot do it when fans, and not all the fans were doing it, Dan, not all the fans were doing it. Just a handful of them were doing it. You cannot, while coaching a 3-win team, come to the microphone and say, hey, stop booing Kawhi Leonard. Give me a break. I'll boo whoever I want to boo, including you, Pop.
For the uninitiated, and this was a couple of days ago.
Terrible.
I'm not totally sure you got the Maurice Cheeks story totally right.
He did, actually.
Did he grab the microphone? Because I remember him just sort of.
No.
Yeah, but I remember him just sort of putting his arm around her, comforting her. I don't remember him picking up the microphone and talking.
It's one of the great moments in American history. For me, it's top 5, right behind Oshie. I mean.
Okay, very good. For the uninitiated, this is old, but let's just check in on Popovich.
Excuse me for a second.
Pops on the mic.
Can we stop all the booing and let these guys play?
Oh, shut up.
Class. It's not who we are. Knock off the booing.
Not who we are. Here's who we are. We tanked to get Wembanyama.
To lay off Kawhi Leonard.
I love that they booed more after he said that.
Well, here's the thing: if you're Pop, he's a smart guy. How can he had to know telling fans not to boo would make them boo more, and so. Okay, that's what I mean. I think he was proving
He wanted
something.
more booze?
Well, no, I think he was trying to make himself look like the good guy, being like, "Oh no, don't boo him."
Right
and
there.
then he's like, "Well, of course they're going to keep going." And then it'll be more where he can say, "Don't poke the bear." Still don't get it. Still don't get that.
Trying to save face with with Kawhi Leonard on the line. He comes up, guys, stop! Let's stop this booing. Come on, Kawhi, I got you.
Or he was icing Kawhi.
But Kawhi hates him.
Exactly. That's why he's trying to save face.
Oh, no.
I mean, you had a great take on Oddball, and I'm going to ask you to microwave it real quick because I came away watching this as it happened. What are you doing? This is clown behavior. And I don't know what's going on inside your mind, if you feel guilty about the whole Kawhi thing, but we, the audience, are not your pawn in all of this. You never see that.
There's two different levels to this. Level one is I want to ask Dan a question. Dan, you said, oh, you're not into like heckling, whatever. Are you anti-booing? Not heckling, not calling people names, not talking about their family,
Just
not using
booing.
just the word boo.
No, I'm not.
You're
against,
anti-boo?
No, I'm not against booing. I'm not against booing. The part about this story that I found most interesting is that Popovich has been a king so long in that market that he actually thought going to a microphone
Bang.
and telling
Well, that's
them
the problem with
something
Pop,
would
right?
work.
Bang.
Yes.
I couldn't.
I don't know that he thought it would work.
He
is what I'm saying.
absolutely thought I lord over all of this.
Yeah, I run this town.
And they're going to be, oh, sorry, Pop.
I appreciate your theory. I do, Charlotte.
It's a great theory.
You got to zig when they say
If Popovich is indeed smarter than everyone, and I don't know why it
Next
is
level.
he took out Duncan so that Bosch could get that rebound. But if he is smarter than everybody, absolutely, that is the third eye move of I will go over there. You want to know how I win in every circumstance? I will look like the good guy. I will look to everybody like I am protecting Kawhi like I didn't when his body needed protection.
Bang.
But really what I want is more booze.
But I'm going to get them to boo more at my arrogance.
You want to know the smartest thing ever? Remember when they were 3-2 and everyone said, "Oh, maybe Wembanyama could take them to the playoffs." They've lost 12 games in a row.
That's
How
not very-
smart is that?
That's not a very nice imitation of me. I mean,
Of Mike Ryan. That was how Mike Ryan said it with his arms and hands
like the
moving
Swedish
like
chef.
that. Yes.
Morgie.
Yeah, whenever I get excited, I move my arms around and I make points. Oh,
And people are starting to open their eyes.
this is my pop point. Beyond the right to boo. Everyone in sports has a right to boo.
Mm-hmm.
That we can't take that away. To act like that's unclassy or whatever. Shut the hell up, number one.
Especially a guy who left your franchise and won somewhere else.
That's my point that I draw in Oddball, which is the reason they're booing, because he didn't do this when they booed Paul George or they booed anybody else. The reason they're booing that guy is because he's a villain in San Antonio. Why is he a villain in San Antonio? Because when he was hurt and he said, I'm not ready to play, the Spurs organization used every single dirty trick of leaking stuff repeatedly, consistently to the press. He's not that hurt. Tony had the same injury. And then we had a team meeting and all. They did all of those things to make him look like trash. And so the fans are like, yeah, this guy he's not down for the cause like Tony and Manu and Timmy. So of course they boo him. You taught them to boo him.
I don't think that people totally understand what an enormous source of tension in the offices of basketball it is. The load management questions, Stugotz. When the Miami Heat are paying Jimmy Butler $500,000 or $600,000 a game, do you think they want to be hearing from him or his agent on he's not playing the second night of back-to-backs? Like just across the sport. It's not just Jimmy Butler. I'm just make it across the sport. Do you think any of these people, when it's $500,000 to $600,000 a game,
Right.
you are paying
They don't
them?
want to hear it, Dan.
And where it is that Kawhi
Especially during the in-season tournament. I mean,
Kawhi Leonard ended up, I can't think of a lot of people that San Antonio's fan base are angrier about that have played there in the history of that market than they had a superstar they watched win a championship somewhere else who didn't trust the organization medically about his body and left.
for me, it was just really about Pop, and he thinks his words matter. He thinks his words matter more than anyone else's words. He thinks his hugs after the game matter more than any other coach's hugs after the game. Like, who made Pop? Who put Pop in charge of the NBA and player relations in the NBA? Every single game, the opposing star that he's playing against gets a big handshake, a big hug, a big smile, and Pop thinks it means more to that player than any hug, any smile, any handshake from any other coach. And he's wrong. Overrated, Pop. He's not that good of a coach. I mean,
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Does Gregg Popovich think his hugs matter more than the hugs of other human beings?
Do it without Hall of Famers, Dan. How about that?
As one myself, that was egomaniacal behavior.
Thank you.
From Gregg Popovich. That was narcissistic right there. That's what all that was. Takes one to know one.
And it also is distancing himself from the Frankenstein's monster that he created. Right? It's not just narcissistically like an.
You're going to make me the bad guy here? You want to feel better about yourself, so you're just going to tell this amorphous blob of fans that they're the ones that are wrong.
No, it's ridiculous. And to me, it all comes down to, like you said, narcissism.
David Lee, I take over.